Hello everyone, welcome back to our podcast SPARC Nexus. Joining is that inspire. And today we have with us Ms. Radhika Bajoria, named as one of the LinkedIn Top Voices 2021 of the next generation. She is a senior editor and anchor at the Representative and in charge of strategic communications at Touchstone Partners. And above all, she founded her career in content writing. And this is what today's podcast is all about. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us today.
Thank you, Apayal and Mira, for having me on the show. It's great to see that you guys at such a young age are doing a fantastic job by connecting with different people and hearing their insights. I think that's the most beautiful part of being young, that you can reach out to anyone and then get to hear what they have to say. So good job on that, and I'm quite excited to be here with you all.
So much for coming on board with us today, ma'am. We're so excited to we're looking forward to an informative episode. So we'd like to start off by asking you to tell the audience and us a little bit about yourself, ma'am. How did you get started with content writing?
So I started with content without any plan in mind. I usually do things in the flow because my natural tendency is never to organize things or wait for things to happen or wait for some opportunity to knock my door. I just go with the flow, and I think that's the beauty of everything that has happened to me so far, and content is one of them. So, content writing was never something that I liked, but whenever you're in solitude, your mind gets active. You feel like writing something so that your feelings can come out. You can pen down something as to what you feel and what you think. So it all started with that, and on one fine day, my friend just came across my poems that I'd written, and he said that you're such a good writer. Why don't you try doing freelance content writing? And I was just and I was in my second year of college, and I thought to myself that freelance content writing will help me get some money also. And I started with that, and it's just like a chain reaction. Once you start with one, you get many on the line, and that's how I got many other clients. I started earning decent amount. So I think it's the consistency in my content that has led me grow on the platform in a likely manner that people will like it. And it's just not about consistency, I would say. It's also about the kind of value that you're giving to your people. If I would have just written on philosophical content, I'm very sure that people wouldn't have reacted the way they do right now. It's because I present news in a very simple and crisp way. So it's essential to identify your niche, your area of interest first. Then second, it's important to understand what your reader might want, because social media platform is a public platform. Even you as a writer have some responsibility towards it. So if you're writing something, you also need to keep your reader's perspective in mind as to what would they like to read. And third, and the most important thing is that how will you be different from others? Why should someone choose to give their time to your post and should read what you have to say? So I think I identified all those three gaps, and all those three dots I connected with whatever I had. I just identified my strengths and my love for reading news, and I just used to put together news on a daily basis, and I still do. So the only thing that I keep in mind is that although consistency is the key, but that doesn't mean that if I have to be consistent, I just write anything that comes to my mind without any particular research. So there will be days when I didn't get enough time for research, and there will be days when I didn't post. But I feel fine, because at the end of the day, I'm providing something valuable only if I am. And if I'm not, that's fine. People can read my other posts that I've posted. So I think the key here is to get started in content writing. Whosoever wants to get into this field, it will be challenging. Of course, nothing in life is easy, and whatever is easy goes away also very easily. So don't aim for success very fast. It's good to have a vision, but have some goals attached to that vision. And just in the end, I would like to say that execute whatever you think of. Otherwise, you'll feel like whatever you say is just of no use. You're not able to execute it. Let's jump onto some other things. And when you're not very consistent in life, it's not a very good skill to operate on. So college is the best time to explore different opportunities. Take your time. Even after college, if you haven't found anything, that's also absolutely fine. Enjoy your youthfulness, enjoy your younghood, and I'm sure that people will figure out whatever they love doing. You all are also doing BCom. I'm sure that you all might not want to become a CA like others do, but I'm sure you all have something in mind and you all will excel at whatever you do. And this podcast is something that you have started with, which is in itself is a first step to success. You get to hear so many people's views. You also get some ideas as to what you should be doing next, or how you should be executing your vision, etc., etc. So there are many things that come into the picture, but yeah, that's how my content journey has especially been. And I think there's a lot to learn from other people around, from the content that's on Google, and from you guys also. You all are so young, and the questions that you ask are very to the point. So yeah, I think it's a very nice experience that everyone should go through once in a lifetime. But yeah, that was about me.
That is very inspiring to listen to, right?
Very insightful, ma'am. Thank you for that.
Yeah, we'll keep in mind all the points which you said.
Ma'am, in your introduction, you mentioned that your first post only got 3 likes. Coming from that, now you have around 150,000 followers on LinkedIn. That's a huge jump. So, and you're facing the public a lot. And recently you got named as the LinkedIn Top Voices 2021. So being all of these things, do you feel any pressure creating content now that you have been named as a LinkedIn Top Voices 2021, and you feel like it has to meet a certain standard because you're presenting it to so many people?
Yeah, that's actually a good question, because many people feel the burden of other people watching them, but I never feel the pressure, because that wasn't my aim at all. When you aim for getting publicity is when you get scared of the public. But if that's not your aim at all, you just remain indifferent to it. It just doesn't matter to you. What matters to you is your own content. So I'll be unhappy if I haven't researched enough when if I've posted something. So that is something that makes me unhappy at times. But I never am bothered about what people think or what people comment. So I think it doesn't really matter how people perceive your post, because when you start caring about it, that's when you start falling down the drain, because your focus entirely shifts from what other people are telling you rather than what your content should be about. So I think you need to be very focused whenever you're doing something. It's good to be distracted sometimes. I mean, that's when you also explore some other things and explore some creative side of yours. But at the end of the day, in the longer run, it's important to understand what your vision is, and then put together your goals to achieve that vision. And I think it doesn't really matter how people are perceiving you. It's good to take suggestions, good to take feedback, listen to people, but at the end of the day, do what you feel is right. And what you feel should be a function of what you feel, not what others feel about you.
That's a really interesting viewpoint for this question, ma'am. I feel like a lot of social media content creators have this problem where they're constantly second guessing themselves. But they look at it from this way. It's a very useful method, I think, to overcome that. So, ma'am, so hopping off of that, so there are, as I mentioned, there are some social media content creators who might struggle with that, or people starting with content writing who might struggle with this. So they might experience writer's block. So what do you think are suggestions to improve that? And apart from this particular reason, do you experience writer's block, and how do you overcome it?
Yeah, definitely. I do experience writer's block. In fact, from the last 2 days, I haven't been able to write something. And I feel that it's good to take a break also. It's good to give a break to your mind also. If something's happening with you, there must be a reason. And that's why I said earlier, trust yourself, trust your gut. Because if you don't trust your own body, your mind, you will not be able to give your 100%. So if something is happening, just trust in the universe that it's happening for good. There's a saying in Hindi, which Harivansh Rai Bachchan, father of Amitabh Bachchan, had said in one of his poems, that, jab man ka ho to acha, to jab man ka na ho to aur acha. So, if something doesn't go your way, trust in the process that something good or something better is coming your way. I know it sounds very easy, and it's very easy to say also, but when it comes on you, you really feel the brunt of it, and you feel like, what should I do? How do I get out of it? But actually, the thing is, the principle of life is that if you don't feel the pain, you can't experience the pleasure, or you can't value the success that you get. So it's important to go through writer's block. I think that's when you actually think about doing something better, something out of the box, because you feel like, oh my god, I've faced this gap. Now it's time for me to get out of it and come back with something better, because my audience was following me for a particular reason on an everyday basis, but now I haven't been in action for a long while. But if I'm coming back, my comeback should be huge. So I think that also allows you or pushes you to do something much beyond your comfort level. So I think that's when the actual creativity kicks in. And I look at it that way, and hence there's some positive outlook around this. Many people might have different views and thoughts over this, but this is what I have to say on this.
Right, that was a great perspective of how you look in this point as. So, ma'am, a lot of articles have similar writing styles, and it can get a little boring, to the viewers because of how oversaturated the market is. So, do you have any suggestions to how to make your content stand out, or maybe develop a unique writing style so it attracts the audience to read it at the first place?
Yeah, so I think that can't be taught in just one line, or me talking about it for hours and hours. Unless you experience it yourself and go through different stages of how people are responding to your content, you won't know what is it that you should follow. There's no set rule to this. If you go to see, because if I start writing, see, many things work on LinkedIn. Like, for example, one liners also work, just a paragraph also works, just an image works, or something like what I write also works. So I can't just follow someone, and if they're saying that, why don't you start with one liners, they're actually performing great. I can't really do that, because I know that what sells for me is long form posts and business stories. And I think initially you might not have this clarity. Now I have it, because now I know people are responding to what I write. But initially, when you don't have anyone responding to it, I know that you might be in a very hazy state of mind as to what you should be going ahead with. So the best way to go about is that try it all. Unless you also, whenever you go to shopping, unless you try many clothes, you can't really choose which one to buy. So I think the answer to that is that just try every style, see what's working for you, what you feel good about, how people are reacting to it. Do those styles over a consistent period of time, and then take one style ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Explore different arenas. Try it all. That's what you're saying. That's a great advice, I guess, for especially for beginners. So, ma'am, hopping into the next question. What do you think are the important things to keep in mind while content writing? Like, there are different aspects to it: ingenuity, creativity, excellence, and using big words, having a vast vocabulary. There's a lot of aspects to it. So, what do you think are the things that writers should keep in mind as they're starting a piece?
Yeah, so the last thing that you mentioned about the vocabulary is the first thing that you shouldn't keep in mind at all, because in a bid to use some complex words, you get so complicated and entangled in your own self that you don't know what the content should be like. You're just focusing on using some heavy, fancy words just to show off, But in the longer run, if you go to see, it really depends on a platform to platforms, especially for LinkedIn. Since I have studied that platform the best out of all the other platforms, I can speak about it. It's a platform full of professionals, full of senior people, some students also. But you get onto the platform to connect with some top industry level leaders, right? And if you go to see, all of them are very humble and very well soft spoken. They don't ever use flowery language. Their language is very simple. You wouldn't even believe that he or she is a CEO after speaking to them, just casually. Of course, if you speak with them on business aspects, you will figure out that they've achieved something. But casually, just as a friend, if you speak to them, they'll be so light-hearted. They'll have a light laugh with you. They will never have such thing on the face that I know more than you. They will be very friendly. So I think that's the market that you should cater to. And I'm just saying this for LinkedIn. On Instagram, of course, it's a different market altogether. And someone who's explored that platform better can comment. But speaking for myself solely, I feel that it's not important to use very difficult English. Simplify your content, that's first. I think I grew because of that only. The news and newspapers used to be so complicated for our college students that they wouldn't understand what's going on, and this was only a small portion of students, but there were some students like this. And considering this fact, I just thought that this small portion could become a large portion, considering every college, every college must be having such small portion of students who don't understand what's given in the news. So why not help them out? Why not start writing about it? So my friends who were very intelligent, who were also doing CA, I used to go to them and understand the concept. I used to understand what the news is talking about. And once I did, of course, as a layman, they would also explain it to me in a very simplified way. And because I understood it in a simplified way, I wrote it in a simple way. So I think that understanding that you get from others should also be very crisp. But coming back to the content style, I think simplicity is the first point that people should focus on. The second point would be that identify your area of interest. You can't just write on something that is popular that others are writing on. And even if you do, you will stop writing on it because you don't have any interest in reading more about it. How much will you write? If it's suppose about fashion, how much will you write? After 100 days, after 2 years, you'll stop because you'll feel like, what more? There's nothing more for you to explore because you don't love it. And because you don't love it, you don't have the curiosity to explore and go beyond. So do only something that you love. That's second. And it'll take time to identify what you love, but that's totally fine. And that brings me to the third point, that's exploration. Unless you explore, unless you try new different things, you won't get to know what is it you actually love doing. So try doing that. The most important thing is get started. Don't worry about what will people think about you or how will your first post go. That's absolutely fine. Just do it and forget about it. Start implementing some actions for your second post. Forget about the first post once it's done, but get started with the first post at least. That's the only suggestion that I would want to make.
So thank you so much, ma'am. That was an inspiring answer. So with this, we move towards the end of the session. And one last question, we want you to ask, like, for a just final advice in a phrase or two for the budding content writers. In just a phrase or two, final advice.
Yeah. So no advice is ever final because that's something that just sets the ground for you to take an action. So let me just correct that because whenever you impose something on someone, they are most likely to not do it. So I wouldn't suggest anyone to forcefully do anything, but it's just my plain simple advice that please don't be carried away by the glamorous things that you see in your college because you're young, you're excited, your heart is just bristling with energy, you want to try new different things. But also be mindful of the fact that there are things that you need to look beyond. Don't get so submerged into your own imaginations that you forget about what the reality is. Most of the college kids, it's very sad to see that some of them go through depression, loneliness, and a lot of mental health issues. But I think if they're happy within themselves, they will make others also happy around them. You can't really blame the surrounding and tell them that the surrounding is making me unhappy. So just focus on being happy, and how you can do that is by posting what you love doing. And how you can figure out what you love doing is by exploring. So my only message would be that just keep on exploring, try new different things. Don't restrict yourself to anything. Don't have any set mindset. Be a keen learner, keen listener, and just be a keen reader. Reading really helps a lot. So yeah, that's the only thing that I would like to give out as a message to everyone.
So much, ma'am. That's very useful advice, I guess, for everyone listening in. It was a very insightful session. We learned a lot, even from a philosophical point of view. So thank you so much, ma'am. I'd like to say thank you to our audience for sticking around for this long. We hope you learned as much as we did. And any feedback, please let us know in the comments down below. And we'll see you for our next episode. Thank you.